Hey YouTubers, okay, welcome to the channel. So today we're just doing the rear brakes on the X-Trail. So I'm just going to do the pads today and I'll worry about the bleeding and I'll do the front brakes separately. So first up, we've just got it jacked up. So there's a couple of options for jacking up. You can use your factory jack, but you can see there I've just jacked under that rear A-arm with my trolley jack, and I've got a axle stand just under there just for safety. We'll have them put it down on that, and cracked off the wheel nuts using the long bar and the 21mm socket, and just about to ratchet those off. So the pads we'll be putting on today, won't be doing the brake fluid, we'll just be doing these pads. So these are RDB 1509s and they are GP Max RDA brakes. I'll put the link in the description. Get these wheel nuts off and get in there and have a look at cleaning up the wheel and getting these pads off. Okay, so one thing worth doing each time you get the wheels off, apart from giving them a clean, which I'll do in a minute, is just to have a chance to have a look around. And I found this little friend just in the tyre. I'm just going to see how far in that's gone, whether that's actually causing a puncture. That's a screw. That's causing a puncture or not. Okay, I'm just going to get that out and just have a look. Oh no, here we go. I think we might have got lucky with that one. So it's only that long. So I've got some soapy water here. I'll just put that on and see how we go. What do you think? Leave that a few minutes and just see how we go. So as I said, always worth having a look what's happening. That's been in there for ages. Worth taking your wheels off once a year, just giving them a quick inspection. Okay, back to the brakes. So we're going to be just getting these cleaned up, and then we're going to take out the two caliper bolts, whip the caliper off. Not doing the rotors today. Rotor's not too bad, not really lippy on the outside or the inside, and might try and adjust the handbrake separately if we get a chance to do that. On this car it's a mechanical handbrake, so it's inside the drum. So I'll get those caliper bolts off, let you know the sizes, and we'll see what it looks like. So just before I got into the other side, I thought I'd whip the wheel off, and look at this. What's this? People putting screws on the road to get your tyres? Let's see how we go with this one. It's the same screw. Oops, slightly different screw. Okay, let's see how we go with that one. I think we got lucky twice. Okay, so this one a little bit sharper. Self-tapper, that's been in there ages. So again, take your wheels off every year, give them an inspection when you get a chance. Let's get back to those brakes. Now these are 14 on the caliper bolts, 14mm, and there's lots of ways of doing this, but the way I like to do it is to put a spanner on, back to front like that, and just give it a whack like that. Saves on your hands, it's a bit less sharp on the bolts, and it's easier than trying to get sockets behind there. Okay, the next thing I like to do before even getting in there and getting the brakes undone is give it a bit of a clean. My weapon of choice is this oven cleaner, and you'll see that dissolves a lot of the brake dust really well. I've just scrubbed that in on the wheels and give it a bit of extra for luck. We'll get that pressure washed off and cleaned up. Okay, so on this side I've got the old pads out and got the new pads ready to go in. And just to put a difference, and we'll work this out in a minute, on the old pads the insides both had the brake wear detector. On the new pads just the one, so you can sort of see the difference. These old pads aren't too bad. If you look at that, they've probably got about, I don't know, half the wear, but you can just see there the detector is just getting near to touching on the disc. So it's probably about 4mm of usable wear and 6mm in total of usable wear. So 4mm until that detector. So we'll get those back in a moment, but before that we're just going to wind these pistons in. Now if you don't have one of these piston winding tools, that's okay. One trick that a lot of people do is just put a screwdriver between the disc and the pads just to push the piston in. So I'm just going to wind mine in. Not sure if I'm going to be successful on this without putting a pad in there. But you can see that's just going in. Now one thing you do have to be careful of while you're doing that is just keep your eye on the reservoir, because as that fluid comes back in, the reservoir is going to refill and you might just need to suck some of that fluid out. Otherwise you're going to get it flowing all over your engine and making a real mess. So we'll be changing the brake fluid another day, but for now we're just going to keep going on squeezing that piston in. And just a couple of other notes here. So the pads, they just go in like that, so make sure you put them in at an angle and then it should just pop in, and the curvature on the outside goes with the curvature of the disc. So pretty much normally on the inside it's flat, and then some people do grease a little bit at the top and the bottom. Here I've got stainless steel clips, so probably not necessary. Some grease on the back. Again, here we've got the rubber, metal rubber, or RBR I think it's called. Anyway, it's got a brand name. And on the old ones I've got these stainless steel shims. So it's stainless steel with rubber on the inside. These ones are stainless steel with rubber on both sides. So they should be good, and now the piston should be able to go back on. Shouldn't really leave the piston dangling on the hose, although lots of people do. And just another point I didn't show you before is if the top pin's in, you can actually change the pads just by lifting that up and dropping it back down. I'll show you that in a moment. And now that's back together, I'm just going to put those pins in loose, put some grease on them, and then I'm going to pump the brake pedal just to get that piston back in place before we get onto the other side. Just to note on those caliper pins, there are two different types. The top one is the steel one, and the bottom one does have this rubber ring at the bottom if you do take those out. So I'll get those back in, and I'm just going to put this grease on them. Just a bit of lithium grease, look, it's white grease. You can get some out of there. And then we'll be putting those pins back in. Let me get that on and get those together. Okay, probably a bit easier to show you on this side what I was talking about with the single pin. So if you just take out the bottom pin out of the caliper, so you should be able to see that down there, then you can rotate the caliper up like this. You can change the pads, and depending on whether you've just got a screwdriver or you've got one of these tools, you can just wind the piston back in like that, and then just check on your brake fluid, and when the piston's in enough, just drop it down over the caliper. Sorry, drop the caliper down over the brake pads there. Okay, we'll get this one together and start bolting everything back up. Okay, just before putting the wheels back on, just be very careful that these seals are seated on both the caliper and the pin side. So you can see there, you can just rotate them to do that. You can just see there, those two are totally happy, and the same on the other side. And I've tightened up the two caliper bolts that I had undone, and we're good to get the wheels back on. Okay, just showing you how those wheels came up after that oven cleaner. So you can see there, they're looking pretty clean, and they'll be good enough to get back on, and luckily no leaks in those two screw holes. Okay, we'll get those back on and tighten back up, and we're good to go.